Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I have some very exciting news of a medical breakthrough that's available to each of you that is fairly new to science and research that has been what biochemists have been studying. And before I get started, let me just share my screen so that you can see my slideshow. Okay. So my name is Megan McNally, for those of you who don't know me. And I'm going to be telling you about this medical breakthrough and something involving a word called nutrigenomics, which I will explain in a little bit. So we're going to be talking about a company called LifeVantage that has been at the forefront of this medical breakthrough and the studying of elevating your lifespan and your health span, particularly through nutrigenomics. So here is a photo of me and my husband. We live in Washington State, love it here, and have been married about a year and a half as well. I have a doctorate in traditional naturopathy. As I was studying, even before I started studying that degree in that field, I have spent a lifetime loving natural remedies, loving natural health, and just putting a lot of effort into learning how the body works and functions and how to use your lifestyle and your daily choices to be able to prevent future health risks that are something that each of us face, especially more every day and every year that goes by. So I believe that everybody matters, and the information that I'm going to tell you about, I believe, should be told to everyone because it is amazing, and because everyone matters, their health matters as well. So these are 4 people that have definitely mattered in my life. And it is because of these 4 people that I am sharing this information with you today. On the left is my aunt, my mom's sister. And then in the middle is a friend of mine that I have known for a little while. And then my parents are both on the right. And these 4 people were sick, especially my aunt and my friend in the middle. Both of them, the two, had a condition where they were told they probably wouldn't live much longer. That's really hard to take for myself because when I have family, even my parents, like they're not doing well, I believe that there is so much with health and your lifestyle, what you eat and drink every single day, that can keep you from getting sick. And I felt like all of these people on this page were doing exactly that. They were doing everything right. They were taking all the right natural remedies, all the right detoxes. They were not getting better. And I couldn't figure out why this is happening to so many people in my life. There's got to be something missing. There's got to be a key to this. And so what was that? Well, the husband of the lady in the middle shared with me this information. So Terry in the middle was very, very sick. And because she learned about this and it changed her life and her health, and she is doing amazingly well today, all of these people on the screen are also doing amazingly well with their health today and feeling fantastic. So I am so happy to be able to tell you more about this. Before I tell you more, I'd like to first get a baseline structure of understanding how our body works. So first of all, each and every system of our body is composed of cells. And we know that our body runs on our cells. The health of our cells then puts into the health of that system, an area of the body or that organ. So if the cells are doing really bad, then that organ is doing really bad. What is not, though, it doesn't really add up, is you have one area of your body that's not doing well, but yet another area feels okay. What I've learned through my health research is that every single part of the body is connected. If you have an unhealthy condition in your eyes, that means there's probably something going on in your blood vessels everywhere else in your body and higher pressures, and you've got every organ that's affected. There isn't a single area that is separate from another. So we need every cell in our body functioning optimally. As science has been studying and putting a lot of money, like billions of dollars, into learning how to be able to keep our cells in our body healthy and to live longer and have longer quality of life, they have found something that they call epigenetics. And that explains how our genes express themselves and how the environment impacts that. So as we know, the genes are our blueprints for our body. And if our genes are healthy and expressing correctly, then we also have less disease. However, 20% of our DNA is hardwired. So if you have 20%, that leaves a whole entire 80% that is not hardwired and can actually be reversed and put back into healthy mode. So if you've got a lot of stuff in your genetics and you feel like, I have this because of my parents, well, it's possible that you may not, because 80% of your DNA can be switched. And that's 4 million genes that can be turned on and off through a light switch. And that is through something called nutrigenomics. That is a long word, but it essentially means your daily choices and your lifestyle that can turn on and off what your genes are doing and as they function. And that then constitutes how your health is and what conditions you have coming at you. So it's super exciting that you can do something about your genes. Every single day, our cells have cellular damage. We can't prevent it. Things are coming at us from everywhere through the pesticides in our food. We have choices that we make, smoking, drugs, and alcohol. Even our injuries creates high amounts of inflammation, and then that damages our cells too if it gets too high. Our food, of course, the GMOs and the toxins in our environment, even the stuff that we put on our skin and hair as we're trying to have good hygiene, that contains a lot of toxins that damage our cells as well. Parasites hurt us. A lot of people have high heavy metals in their system, and a lot of people have no idea how much those heavy metals are affecting them and keeping their nutrition levels imbalanced. And no matter how much they supplement a certain supplement, their heavy metals are keeping those minerals and vitamin levels from being balanced because their cells are damaged. And we've got tons of cleaning products that we're using, so we've got way too much that is damaging our cells. And that is where something called biohacking comes in. Biohacking is a really cool word because it essentially means taking control for a beneficial purpose to optimize our genetic potential, maximize our performance, our health span, and our lifespan using the nutrigenomics. And what nutrigenomics means is the daily choices. So you can biohack your body and get the best potential your body can have by our daily choices. As we know, after 40 years of age, risk of death from chronic disease doubles every 8 years. That's significant because even in your 20s, you have a good chance of getting disease, but then just 20 years later, you have way more health risks. And that is becoming more and more of a problem with each year to come. And people are starting to really look at their health, like, what can we do to be able to prevent this? 1 in 3 people now get cancer. Like, that's incredible. So how do we prevent that? There's 3 major theories of aging that LifeVantage has been focusing on. And when I talk about aging, as our cells age, they are becoming diseased. So it's essentially trying to prevent those cells from becoming diseased in the first place. So that is what we mean by aging. Extending the quality of life Quantity is important, but quality is even more important. You want to be better for longer. So how do we do that? And the 3 topics that we're going to be covering today is free radical damage, mitochondria and the dysfunction of them, and also something called sirtuins. So our human cell has hundreds of pathways that run various functions of the body. 3 of those pathways are super important for daily function and the aging process of our cells. And those 3 pathways are called NRF2, NRF1, and NAD. And we're going to be talking briefly about each of them. So the first one I'm going to tell you about is called NRF2, and that deals directly with free radicals, which you've probably heard about before. So just a quick overview, free radicals come at us from every single direction, just like the hijacking that I talked about a moment ago. It damages our DNA, causes lots of inflammation, air pollution, and our mitochondria are damaged as well. So as we get more and more free radicals from our environment, that causes oxidative stress in our cells. And oxidative stress looks like this on the left. You have a healthy, productive, very well-working cell, and as it is exposed to oxidative stress, you get a damaged cell. And as oxidative stress increases, look at on the right the amount of conditions that are involved with oxidative stress. It's amazing how many things, our joints, our lung, our brain, immune system, every organ of our body, our eyes, our heart, our skin, our kidneys, that about covers everything. So how do we prevent that from becoming an issue? Well, there's something called antioxidants. And honestly, they are amazing. But there's actually a hierarchy of antioxidants. And those that are found in foods are super important. Of course, you have your goji berries and your blueberries. You've got to eat a lot of them in order to be able to combat free radicals. However, there's more antioxidants that are even more powerful than what we get in our food. And those are the ones that are produced in our cells. So those are the ones at the top. They're called SOD, catalase, and glutathione. How they work is just like this example. When we get one antioxidant from our food, it eradicates one free radical. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. However, an antioxidant enzyme that is produced in our cells eradicates 1 million free radicals in a 1-to-1,000,000 ratio. That's incredible. So our cell enzymes are 1,000,000 times more powerful than the ones that we get in our food. This is a cool fact. There are 300 sextillion free radicals that we have coming at us from that amazing list of things that were being hijacked from the pesticides and everything in our environment, the things that we're breathing. There's so many free radicals, it amounts to 300 sextillion. So if you were to be able to eradicate all of those free radicals, that would mean that you are having to spend $3 million worth of blueberries every single day, be eating those, and nobody has enough time or stomach space to be able to do that, or money. So how do we be able to balance that and get our antioxidants doing what they're supposed to do? That is where the NRF2 cellular pathway comes in. This is the pathway that governs our cellular antioxidant production. This is just a very scientific picture of what it looks like, and as it is turned on by the KEAP1, those antioxidants are then pushed out. The genes are put into the body, and it has to be open and working. Unfortunately, this pathway actually turns off with aging, and science has been looking at how in the world to be able to turn back on the production, because it decreases so much. So LifeVantage was partnered with a biochemist, and he knew there were synthetic ways of being able to turn on the NRF2 pathway in the cells, but he wanted a healthier way to do it, and he started looking at herbs. He came down to 5 excellent herbs, and those are listed at the bottom, called turmeric, milk thistle, green tea, bacopa, and ashwagandha. Probably you're already taking some of these, and they're amazing. But when he put them together in a special ratio, it's a very, very particular micro level of different combinations. He found that it actually turned on the NRF2 pathway. And after he figured out how to do it, they started doing testing on it, and they found in their test that it lowered oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days. That's significant. That means those antioxidants are killing those free radicals. So here is the 3 antioxidant superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione that were all turned on significantly in their production. Glutathione is increased by 300%. You've got to research what glutathione helps in the body because it's amazing. Another institute called the National Institute on Aging did a study on Protandim at that time, which they named it Protandim. When the National Institute on Aging did a study on Protandim, they found that it was the only dietary supplement proven to extend life in male mice. I don't think there's any other supplement on the market that has that claim. So that's really exciting. Something that's also cool about LifeVantage is when they put together this combination, even still as they're producing it, they make sure that every single ingredient is completely free of any toxins. And it's certified by NSF and BSCG, you can see there on the bottom right, and those are even more important than being organic, because organic can still have some toxins in it, but they make sure it's qualified for even Olympians to be able to take. And they also make sure that every single bottle of Protandim, every batch that they make, turns on the NRF2 pathway. So you could think, well, maybe one batch, maybe the ratio got slightly off. No, they make sure every batch works. So that's truly amazing. Here's an awesome example of how with Protandim NRF2, we have, as a child, we've got our antioxidant flow running very well. As we get older into our 20s, it actually can decrease quite significantly. As we get into our 60s, we virtually have no antioxidant production, depending on your toxic level. And so what NRF2 activation does is just turn back on that flow to make sure we have the antioxidants that we need. So you may be asking about this ingredient specifically, and my favorite one is turmeric, and curcumin is another name for it. Let's just look at what turmeric does specifically. So it reduces oxidative stress, and these are things that I found in actual studies on PubMed. If you go there, pubmed.gov, this is what they say turmeric does by itself. So it reduces oxidative stress. It is anti-inflammatory. It prevents blood clots. It prevents spread of malignant cells. It prevents growth of new blood vessels that feed tumors. So if your tumors don't have blood vessels and nutrients going to them, then they die or they can't grow. So that's really important. It also induces apoptosis, which is programmed cellular death. If your cells are not dying at the proper time, they're actually living too long and becoming diseased. So that's also very important as well. And turmeric is especially beneficial for liver cleansing and preventing disease. Our liver is the major cleansing organ, so you don't want it toxic and unhealthy. Normal turmeric dosing is 500 milligrams a day. And a lot of people have found that as they take turmeric at such a high dose for long term, they actually have negative side effects. So a lot of people can't take turmeric very long, or they have interactions with other drugs. So the cool thing about Protandim is there's only 50 milligrams a day, and that is the same for all the other herbs in it. It's a very, very small amount, and it's such a small amount that very few people have any side effects that are negative or drug interactions because it's such a low dose. But if it's such a low dose, why is it even effective? So this is how. There is a synergy action between the special combination of all 5 herbs. And in the testing that was done on Protandim, they tested each herb by itself. You can see here on the graph, ashwagandha, bacopa, green tea. Each of them had a tiny bit of effect on oxidative stress and lowering it. Some of them didn't even really help at all. Green tea was kind of in the negative. So they were barely beneficial for lowering oxidative stress, but when they combined it with the special ratio that's in Protandim, they found that it had an 18-fold increase in expression of the antioxidant genes and producing antioxidants to be able to reduce oxidative stress. So that's why you can have such a small amount and have it be so effective. Well, the Protandim NRF2 was so amazing for what it did for the body. They realized they wanted to be able to affect the brain as well. And there's actually what we call a blood-brain barrier, where certain herbs and different things cannot cross it and be able to affect the brain. So they combined Protandim NRF2 into a technology of using a couple herbs that actually cross the blood-brain barrier and be able to turn on those pathways in the brain. And they call that Axio. And it is an energy drink because it activates the brain. But it's not the same as you're taking a Red Bull or any other energy drink out there. There's no sugars. It's sweetened with stevia. It's all fruit and herbs, and you're welcome to ask for the ingredients. It's really amazing. But how it gives energy is because it is turning on those pathways, and cognition improves, mental performance, energy. They've noticed that neurological pathways are improving. So anything that is affecting the brain can be benefited by this. So it's really amazing. And actually, a neuroscientist was told about Protandim and Axio, and he didn't believe it could actually be that amazing. And he did EEG readings on over 12 days of people taking NRF1, NRF2, and Axio. And this is the amazing benefit that the brain had. The right side is actually a better performance of the brain than the left. And he saw such significant improvements in brain performance that he is now telling everybody about it. And you can actually see a video about that if you'd like to ask. So we can definitely get that to you. This is an example of 2 different kids who were put on Axio. And you can see how much the one child's writing improved after being on Axio, and the coloring of the other child also improved. And it's just helping children and adults as well focus better and just be able to have better attention spans. So what's really cool is that they have a decaffeinated version for people who don't do well on caffeine. They also have caffeinated as well for someone who wants that extra boost, but there's both options and some awesome flavors. So they're really amazing for the brain. Well, Protandim itself can be found on PubMed. Because of the amazing results, there's actually multiple famous and outstanding universities and medical facilities that have put together peer-reviewed studies and research on Protandim NRF2. There's actually now 26 of them that have been published on pubmed.gov. You can find them there. The abstracts are available. If you'd like the full study, let us know and we can get that for you as well. But these are the universities and medical facilities that did the research. There's some big ones that you'll recognize: American Heart Association, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins. And the research has been so amazing that doctors are really excited, because there's hardly anything natural that has this much research that's published. One of the studies that was done was specifically on gene expression and how activating with protandem on gene expression affected the body. So this is negative gene expression, where you have really high active genes and some of them are lower, and you actually want it expressing like this, where it's all unified. If something is expressing too much, like this overexpression of fibrotic scar tissue, you don't want all that scar tissue in your body. So what they found is protandem NRF2 actually leveled the gene expression to where the green level is, and it was all expressing correctly. If something was a really good gene, it actually raised it as well. So that is then preventing your future genetic trouble in the future. So Washington State University, which is actually the state I live in, came out with this statement about NRF2 specifically. They said it may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. And the Multiple Sclerosis Journal did published a study where a major pharmaceutical company wanted to test their amazing BG12 drug as well as other drugs used for MS, and they included protandem as well in their test. They spent $50 million on this test, figuring out which one was the best. And at the end of the study, they put out this statement, which is highlighted at the bottom here. It said, interestingly, protandem, a dietary supplement consisting of herbal ingredients, was the most potent inducer and therefore the most suited as a therapeutic strategy. So that's very significant as well. And I'll just include here, you may think, when you go look at all these studies, you think, oh, I have this specific, whatever that I want to know if protandem will help it, or are there more human studies? Well, peer-reviewed research is expensive, and it's also what they have to decide to do it themselves. The company can't actually do it themselves, otherwise it's not peer-reviewed. But a lot of times when human research is done, then pharmaceuticals then consider that a drug. And what LifeVantage wants to do is make sure that it does not become a drug and behind the pharmaceutical counter. They want it available for people to be able to access easily instead of having to have a prescription for it. So they've been very careful in making sure it stays in the nutraceutical aspect instead of pharmaceutical. So there's a lot of amazing studies. You may not find the specific type of study that you're looking for, but just look at the research because it is amazing and it proves that it's very effective. And you're also welcome to look on PubMed and see if oxidative stress is related to something else. It's actually really cool to see what is related together. There's one more study I'd like to highlight for you by the American Heart Association. And they said here in their conclusion about protandem, they said it prevents fibrosis and capillary loss and preserved RV function despite continuing pressure overload. So a lot of people have a lot of pressure going on in their body, high blood pressure. Sometimes it's through diet and lifestyle. Sometimes it can be hereditary and you just can't get it lowered. Well, what they found is that protandem actually protected those capillaries and blood vessels against the blood pressure. So your body is more resilient and it does not get as much damage from continued pressures. So that's really significant. Well, after all this research was published and the medical claim was made about back in 2005, they were saying that it reduced oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. There is an ABC primetime investigative TV series in the US that investigates medical claims, and they try to prove them wrong and prove scams out there because they want to make sure people are taking what's only the truth. So when they heard these claims about Protandim, they wanted to do a live TV show to see if it actually was true. And John Quinones went on live television, and he went to the medical facility and the doctor that produced Protandim, and he took Protandim for himself, and they did blood tests on him to show his oxidative stress level before taking Protandim. He came back in 2 weeks later on live television again and did a follow-up report, and they measured his oxidative stress levels, and they actually found that it reduced by 45% in 2 weeks. So that was even faster than what the original results were about Protandim. And they were so surprised, and the public was so surprised that a primetime investigation turned out positive, that sales went through the roof. And the company had a lot of struggle being able to keep up with that. So their financial advisors recommended that the company switch from being sold on shelves, switch to being sold through people to people telling others, which is a distributor-based company. So they are still that today, and it's doing super well, and many, many people have learned about Protandim and are benefiting from the knowledge and being able to use it and telling family members. And actually one of the distributors that's part of the company met John Quinones, ran into him and his wife randomly, and she said, "Hey, are you guys still taking Protandim?" And they said, "Yes, our entire family is still taking it and they still love it." So that was really amazing. But LifeVantage didn't stop there with its study. They actually continued studying other pathways of the cells to see if they could get the body even healthier than just activating NRF2. So they have found a way to activate something else called NAD. And NAD applies directly to what we call sirtuins. So what are sirtuins anyway? They are longevity genes, and they're a family of proteins. All plants and animals have sirtuins, and mammals, specifically humans, they have 7 of them. And on the left side, you can see some applications of what sirtuins govern. They govern our epigenetics, which is specifically our gene expression, turning on and off our genes, governs cancer and production of cancer, cardiovascular function, our metabolism, how we metabolize in our liver, our fat tissues, our muscle, and our pancreas, and also our neurological function, and our inflammatory response and stress response. So that's really significant, all of those areas, and there's even more that it does, but that's just a few highlights. I'd like to highlight a few other things that sirtuins does. So like I said, inflammatory response, but also something called the P53 gene. That's part of the gene regulation, but is the master regulator for P53. And that gene regulates our tumor growth. So if your P53 gene is low and not expressing well, you're much more likely to have tumors. It also regulates the cell cycle. So that includes cell death. It includes multiplication of healthy cells. You need many, many healthy cells. And if you don't have new growing healthy cells, your body is aging much more quickly. So you want to make sure your cells are reproducing healthfully and dying at the right time. Also DNA repair and telomere activity. And I'll just tell you really quick, telomeres are part of our DNA in the chromosome that affect our longevity. And when our telomeres shorten, we actually age much more quickly. So we need our telomeres functioning as well. So just like the NRF2 pathway, our sirtuins actually decrease with age by 60%. So as you get older, you have a lot less function of this. And that's why all of those things start expressing much more and disease just creeps in. Science has found that fasting, which is very, very popular nowadays, and I definitely recommend it, increases, and caloric restriction specifically increases sirtuin activity by 94%. And caloric restriction means that you're eating very few calories, maybe like 300 to 400 a day. And honestly, that's okay once in a while. And I definitely recommend letting your digestive system rest, but you cannot live on that on a daily basis. And you need the nutrients from your food, especially fruits and vegetables and your legumes. So you cannot restrict so much. So what do you do to be able to get sirtuins increased by that amount? And they also found that the NAD pathway is what turns on our sirtuin production and function. So what LifeVantage started looking at is how to get NAD active again. What NAD is specifically nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and it exists in two forms. It is a coenzyme, and it, I'll just try to summarize it here, but it deals with breaking down the nutrients in the food that we eat and turns them into energy. It's a key player in metabolism and ATP, which is our cellular energy. And I'll just tell you for myself, since I have been activating my NAD, I have noticed a change in how my nutrients is metabolized. I always felt like my stomach would just feel full all the time, like my food didn't go anywhere. And I tried supplementing extra hydrochloric acid because I felt like I was low. It just wasn't really moving very well out of my stomach. So I noticed a huge difference when I started activating my NAD. My metabolism and my digestion has just felt so much better. And, you know, when we are regulating how we break down our nutrients, people actually are using their nutrients better. They're getting more energy. That nutrients is going to every part of the cell, and it may not retain fat as much because it's being used by the body. So that's really exciting too. And it regulates a lot of other biological activity. So that can include sleep and energy levels. Our mitochondria are involved in that too. My husband actually has gotten so much better with his energy levels, and especially waking up in the morning and feeling good. He would always kind of drag out of bed. We'd try to get enough sleep, but he still felt super exhausted in the morning. And he's actually been much more awake and alert in the morning, much more active, getting ready before me. And like, I just been amazed that he's been feeling so good in the morning. So LifeVantage did find a way to activate the NAD pathway, like I said, and they found through their study of it that it's been a nutrigenomic breakthrough shown to increase sirtuin activity by 100% in 24 hours. And they used 4 ingredients to do that. Each one of them did a little bit for NAD, but together, just like NRF2, the synergy activates NAD much higher. That's wasabi, olive leaf extract, theacrine, and cuprous niacin. And when NAD is activated, removal of cellular waste is increased, our inflammatory response. It helps support healthy cholesterol levels, helps support our liver, heart, and vascular function, supports joint and muscle recovery, boosts our mental and physical energy, supports mental focus, mood, motivation, concentration, and boosts our mitochondria function and repair, which we will talk more about mitochondria in a moment, but mitochondria are super important to have functioning. So There's actually other NAD supplements out there. But what they do is they add NAD to the body. LifeVantage wanted to find a way to turn on the body's own NAD. And when they did the testing to see how effective per tandem NAD was, they found that it was even better than caloric restriction. And it went to 100% function after 24 hours of taking it. And after 24 hours of taking a supplement of NAD from some of the other companies out there, the NAD levels are only at 2% at 24 hours. So that's because the body can only use what it's actually making itself. It's so much better when the body is functioning how it should instead of just trying to supplement. So it's activating instead of supplementing. So it's technically intermittent fasting in a bottle. It's really amazing. There's one more pathway I'll share with you about is the NRF1 pathway, which deals specifically with our mitochondria activation and dysfunction of them. So what are mitochondria? They're little organelles in our cells that are there pointed to arrows, and they produce 95% of our body's energy through ATP. And if our mitochondria are few in number, then we don't have as much energy, and our bodies cannot heal, and our cells are not cleaning up waste as well. They are the engines of our cells. And our quality of life definitely depends on our quality of our mitochondria. So as we know, oxidative stress develops into various areas of the body and issues. However, mitochondria dysfunction and disease, look at what develops from that. If you combine both of these, pretty much everything is covered, and we need both of these functioning at optimal rate. So what do our mitochondria do? They are the powerhouse of the cell. They produce the energy. They maintain glutathione levels, which is actually one of those antioxidants. They protect our DNA from damage. And they signal the cell reproduction into new healthy cells. They activate cell death and maintain cell electrochemical integrity. So LifeVantage did find a way of, with their biochemists that work for the company, found a way to use herbs, again, to activate the NRF1 pathway. So NRF1 is just like NRF2, but they both do very different things, as well as NAD. All three do very different things in the body, and you have to activate all three to get all these different various functions. So when you activate NRF1, you are enhancing the function of our existing mitochondria that we already have. They're improving, but it's also stimulating new mitochondria as well. It limits the effect of our cellular aging and supports telomere protection, which is also that anti-aging chromosome. Supports cognitive and brain health. A lot of people have said they think and feel so much better. It also improves our quality of sleep and cellular repair. And your sleep is actually the time of the day where you're repairing the most. You feel like you're not doing anything, but actually if your quality of sleep is bad, that means the repair of your body is also bad. So this really helps that healing time of sleep to be much more effective. And the mitochondria are there just working in the cells, cleaning out all the damage from the day and all the toxins. And that's why you wake up feeling so much better, because you actually had a really effective sleep time. And you also have supported healthy cardiovascular systems, circulatory systems, and our cellular energy, again, is improved. So when I think about mitochondria, they are the workers of cleaning up your cells. If you have a house that you have lived in for years and you've been throwing in all sorts of stuff into it and living in it, tracking in dirt, these are the workers that are cleaning it out. And if you are not consistently cleaning up your house every day and making it look pretty, eventually your house is going to look like a pack rat. It's going to have junk everywhere. And you know how long it'll take to clean out your house then? So a lot of people, when they start activating these pathways, for some people, it may have a more immediate effect. That may be because their body has already been able to clean out their cells. But for some people, it can take a lot longer. And that is why, because there's so much stuff that's been stuffed into their body and their cells for so many years, that it takes a long time to actually clean out. And for some people, that can even take over a year to start to notice the benefits of a clean and healthy cell. So it's super important to activate multiple pathways at once to get them cleaning as fast as possible. So when you activate all three at once with all three protandems, they did a test to see how each of them did by themselves, but then how each of them worked together. And this is the effect. The percentage of increase of cellular cleansing and the cellular pathway production went significantly up. So we have the NRF2 pathway on the left, and it's at 40%, and it went up by 83% increase. And a different pathway gene of NRF2 went up 1,563% increase. So that's really amazing. That means your NRF2 pathway is functioning so much better with all three together. The NRF1 pathway also increased by 38 and 69%. And the NAD pathway, wow, this is amazing. Look at those percentages, 967% and 1,792% increase by using all three together. So it's definitely much more effective and much more benefit from activating more pathways than just one or two. A lot of people ask me, as I share this information, they say, does Protandim really work? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help my cells? Well, I always tell everyone, of course, and 100% of everyone, the testing has shown that it does affect your cells and it does improve them to the statistics that the studies have found. And like I was saying, sometimes for some people it takes longer to clean out than others. A rule of thumb on average of what they found is that you need to allow at least 1 month per decade of your life to allow the body to cleanse out years of toxins. So if you're 50, it may take 5 months of taking these products to feel a difference. And obviously, doing more pathways is more beneficial than just one at a time. So sometimes it's faster than just one by itself. But like I said, some houses, the cells are so packed of toxins that it can take even more than a year. So patience is key, but it is working. And a lot of times cells are just barely able to survive because there's so many toxins. All they're doing is surviving. They're not able to clean. So once they're given the energy by activation to actually start cleaning, that is when you sometimes start to feel a detox because all of that garbage is starting to come up again. So some people feel a little more sick for a little bit of time. And then after the cleansing has done, then they feel amazing. That cleansing period can be longer for others, but the effects are definitely amazing once the cleansing is done. So here are some visuals for you to be able to see how Protandim works. So here's a lady, look at her, the imaging there in her back. Also this man and his face, how it looks so nice and clean here on the after photo. And my mom is on the right. She was unable to bend her fingers and be able to use them very well, especially cooking was hard. And now she's able to fold her fingers completely and make a fist, and she has much more strength. So that is one example. Louisiana State University recommended that LifeVantage crush up Protandim after they did it. Louisiana State University did it themselves. They crushed up Protandim, put it in a cream, applied it to skin, and they found that it had amazing benefits for skin cancer. And they recommended LifeVantage start putting it in a cream as well. And this is what benefits people have had in clearing their skin, making it so much healthier. And look at that lady's wrinkles on her chin. They even smoothed out as well. Here's a closer up of the lady and her cheeks smoothing out. And another elderly lady wanted to apply NRF2 cream on one arm and not the other. And you can see the difference between the two arms, how that changed. And they also have been using it on animals internally and externally. And it's been really helping them. Dogs, cats, multiple animals, and even horses, any mammal. And there is no placebo that's possible in an animal because they don't know what you're giving them. So if it works in an animal, you know it works in a human. And this dog was allergic to grass. You can see how much its skin cleared up by using NRF2 activation. They also have applied it to hair as well, so that people who have trouble with their hair can get benefits externally. And here are some examples of people's hair improving, not only in texture, but it smooths out, it fills in, and people are very, very excited for what it's doing for their hair as well. And after all the research and testimonies that have been coming out, a lot of medical professionals have been very excited to be able to share it with others. And there's actually now over 1,200 medical professionals and doctors that are part of the company that are telling their patients about it and telling their friends and family because it is so effective and they want everyone to know. And, you know, there's a lot of categories people fall into when they hear this information. And honestly, we are totally great with whatever category you fall into. A lot of people want to experience it themselves and just see, what does it do for me? And then after that, they might want to tell someone else about it. So that would be the network of consumers, people just wanting to take it themselves, and maybe you might want to refer someone to us to be able to learn the information as well. But there's some of you who would really like to join us in sharing. So because we're a distributor-based company, we work for the company and we tell others about it, and we're very welcoming to anyone who would like to join us, because the more people that are telling others about it, the more that can be reached and the more that can be benefited from this information. So if you fall into that category, that is great as well, and we definitely appreciate you joining us to share the information. This is a team I work with. It's not everybody, but it's a large chunk of our team. It's called Team Reach. And the stories that have come out of the people that they have shared it with have been amazing, and how their lives have been changed and they're feeling so much better. So we love what we do, and you know, we do this because we feel everyone matters, and we hope that this is helpful for you, that it can be some food for thought, that you understand yourselves and your body better, and that you know how to better help your future and your health. So I'm just going to stop my slideshow here. And, you know, I want to thank everyone for coming, because you've taken your time out of your evening, and I hope that it has been a blessing to you. It's definitely been a blessing to me, and I'm so thankful that it has helped my health as well, because I should share with you, I had a major back injury years ago. I felt a lot of pain. I had bladder issues afterwards. It damaged something in my spine that went down to my pelvic floor. Everything was disrupted. And I spent years in physical therapy, could not get better. And though the physical therapy helped me quite a bit, I had a lot of pain. I love being physically active. I love backpacking, hiking. And it was hard for me to do all of that, even house cleaning, without being a lot of pain. And after even 30 minutes of washing dishes. I'd have to lay flat on the floor, just like rest, stretch. And I was tired of dealing with that. So after learning this information, I thought, well, I'm already vegan. I know a lot about health. Like, I'm trying to do everything I can. It's probably not going to help me very much, but I wanted to use it as preventative for my future. But I was really surprised. My pain levels actually reduced dramatically. And though I sometimes get sore and stiff, I don't have the level of pain that I used to. So I'm really excited about that. It's helped my husband's wrists too from typing and everything. He doesn't have wrist pain. And, you know, it's helped my family members. And I'm just so excited that it's done this. And I want everyone else to benefit as well. So I'm just going to stop the recording, and you're welcome to ask any questions at this time. And thank you all for coming.